Oh. Satchidanandarupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratascharteshvabhignaswarat Tene brahmahradaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayaha Tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamunikrite Kim va parerishvaraha Sadyo hridya varudyate trakritibihi Shushrushubistakshanat. Hari Om and greetings from Niagara Falls. In a recent class, a seeker had asked me, how does she shift her dependence from external security to internal security? Some of you were in that class. And I shared with her the reason why you're not able to make this transition is you don't know enough about Bhagwan and you know too much about samsara. If all of us knew the nature of Bhagwan more, if we knew this fully, then we would never, ever, ever feel insecure. The word achyuta technically means the one who never falls. The implication of this, he never falls from us. If you feel Bhagavan Krishna is behind you, in front of you, beside you, above you, below you, in you, how can there be insecurity? And we know too much about samsara. We know about beings, everything that's going on with our family, circumstances, everything that's going on with the world, articles, everything that's going on with technology. We know this. As you think, so you become. We feel this will make me secure. Vedanta and Bhagavata, this is a course, this is a class for us to make this transition, to hold on more to Bhagwan and simultaneously to let go of samsara. You will know that you are doing this if you feel more independent. When you depend on that which is not dependable, you become more dependent. When you depend on that which is dependable, you become more independent. So are you becoming more independent? The 11th section, the first chapter. The highlight of this chapter is how Bhagavan Krishna's family is cursed by a group of rishis. Do you all remember those details? Frightening. In Sanatana Dharma, those who don't understand, they feel that our rishis are angry and they're loose with curses. It's like they carry water just to shop, 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 like it's a weapon of theirs, yes? They're rishis. A rishi is one who can see what an ordinary person like me cannot. And so when they, as if curse, really what is happening, they are offering vidya. They are sharing what is going to happen so you can prepare for it. They are not creating the future. They can see the future. If someone tells you, this is a rough example, but if someone tells you that there's going to be a storm outside of your home tomorrow, is that a curse or is that a blessing that they told you? It's a blessing, correct? That storm is going to come, so now you can prepare. You go to the basement or you leave your home, whatever it may be. Taking this to a very deep level. For now, just engage in Shravana. More details about this will be shared in time. Bhagavan Krishna has manifested to correct the ignoble, the asuras. For us, what this feels like is negative thoughts. If there's a negative thought, there has to be a positive thought too. There has to be suras, or the noble. Negativity, positivity, asura, sura, this is all in the field of dvaita, or duality. So whether they're asuras or yadavas, it's still in the realm of separation. Hold that. Let me give you another reference. In our Veda, we have Mahavakyas, great teachings that talk about that is infinite, this is infinite. That and this, those are still spatial references. There's still differences involved in that and this. Okay? Bhagavan Krishna allowing for the Yadavas to be destroyed, the internalization of this is for us to be atita, go beyond negative thoughts, go beyond positive thoughts too. Negative, positive, that's still dvaita. We have to transcend dvaita. That is infinite. This is infinite. What should the feeling be? I am infinite. Then there's no space. There's no differences. Yes. Aham brahmasmi. So the asuras, the suras, them, they, that all has to be transcended too. And I'm connecting this back to the second skanda, the original Bhagavata. 4 teachings from Bhagavan Narayana to Bhagavan Brahma. The 4th teaching involved the words Vyatireka and Anvaya. Vyatireka means to let go. That which can be made absent. When you practice that, what will reveal itself is anvaya, that which is ever present, that which cannot be made absent. So this entire first chapter, and this will play out more, externally, you can interpret this as the Yadavas were cursed. But the Vedanta of all of this is how we have to transcend. Bhagavan Krishna's manifestation itself is going to be transcended, yes? So for us to practice the same. You've listened to this, you reflect on this also. More will be shared in future chapters. I'm highlighting all of this, I'm investing in all of this so that we don't treat the first chapter as just katha. There's Vedanta that's being shared. We continue, chapter 2. I'm reading the 30th shloka, 230. Raja Nimi, whom you've not met thus far, is speaking to the Navayogis, whom we've not met thus far either. So 2 new personalities. They're not just 2, there's actually 10. Ata atyantikam kshemam prichamo bhavato nagaha samsaresmin kshanardopi satsanga sheva dhirnanam. Rajanimi asks the Navayogis, Atha, therefore, this is what I want to know, Atyantakam kshemam. Atyantakam, greatest. Kshemam, good. Prichamo bhavato anagaha, I am asking you, for you are the purest. Samsaresmin kshanardopi. Samsara moves fast. And to have a fraction of a moment of what? Satsanga. To have a fraction of a moment of satsanga, Sheva dir nirnam, for a human, that is a treasure. This is the translation. Here is the elaboration of all of this. In chapter 1, Sri Vasudeva is speaking to Rishi Narada and says, I know Bhagavan Krishna as my son. And so I feel incomplete. Do you remember when they were at Syamanta Panchaka? And Sri Vasudeva asks the rishis there, how can I know my son more? So he's putting in the effort, but still he doesn't know Bhagavan Krishna to be Bhagavan. So he feels incomplete. So then he asks Rishi Narada for Bhagavata Dharma. This is one of the main ideas in this chapter, in this section, in this entire scripture. Sri Vasudeva asks Rishi Narada about Bhagavata Dharma, and he's asking Rishi Narada because Rishi Narada, he knows and is living by Bhagavata Dharma. Sri Vasudeva says, the one who knows and lives by Bhagavata Dharma has no fear. And I've shared the same with all of you in terms of security and dependence. Rishi Narada then goes on to share with Sri Vasudeva, this question has been asked before. There is precedent. What is this precedent? Many skandhas ago, we explored one of the avatars of Bhagwan Narayana, whose name is Bhagwan Rishabha. Bhagwan Rishabha's eldest son's name, Bharata, and he was so great that our country came to be known as Bharata. So far, so good. Now, one point I want to make here before I continue. I was recently at a gathering, and there was two people who I hadn't seen for a long time. And they were asking me what I'm doing with my life. So I was sharing some details with them. And I told them they should be part of a class or at least join meaningful mornings. And I was sharing, I try to share Sanatana Dharma in an accessible, applicable way. And they said, wait, you're not Jain. And I said, technically I'm not, but what difference does it make? Are you sure you're not Jain? So right from their sentiment, I could sense this standoffishness, this separation. All of our dharmic religions have their source in Sanatana Dharma. Bhagwan Rishabha is an avatar of Bhagwan Narayana. Bhagwan Buddha is an avatar of Bhagwan Narayana. Even if one doesn't want to accept that, fine. But there's no need to be standoffish about it, correct? So I just wanted to point that out to all. And I feel that if people studied Bhagavatam in detail, so many of our mandars would change them, correct? Bhagwan Rishabha had 100 children. I told you about the oldest. The 9 youngest children were all enlightened. They collectively came to be known as the Navayogis. 9 yogis, those who were united with Bhagwan. When Raja Nimi asks this question, all of these Navayogis are there. Raja Nimi himself is such a great personality. He's not just a Raja, he's a Raja Rishi. So he himself is united with Bhagwan, and he's organized this Satra, this Brahma Satra, which means it is a long experience that revolves around the infinite. I've described our course as a Brahma Satra. So when this is going on, these Navayogis are in this context, and he knows how great these Navayogis are. He describes them as attendants of Bhagwan Narayana. And so he asks this question about what is the greatest good for all? What is the greatest good for all? And these 9 children, these Navayogis, they're looking to each other and really trying to connect with each other to find out who's going to answer first. So the first to answer, his name is Kavi. Kavi. Kavi literally means poet, but the implication of the word Kavi, Ka means joy, and V means the one who spreads this. So Kavi, the one who spreads joy, he answers this question that Raja Nimi has proposed. Before he asks this question, some other beautiful details. Raja Nimi shares that being born as a human is rare. And even while being born as a human, one's life is short. We can all agree to that. It is rare, it is short. And in this rare yet short experience, to have the experience of satsang is rarer. And that's why he describes this as a treasure. Now, for us, we found a treasure. I keep sharing how bhagya we are. Atyantakam kshemam. What is the greatest good? In the next verse, he asks the same, but he just changes the words to Bhagavatan dharman. So Rajanemi is asking, what is Bhagavata dharma? The way that Sri Vasudeva is asking what Bhagavata dharma is. Is the context all oriented for everyone? What is the answer? I have a plan to read 3 shlokas. We'll see what happens. I'm moving to shloka 36. From 30 to 36. Now, Rishi Kavi is responding to Raja Nimi. This shloka, a lot of you know already in a different context. So you can chant with me. Kayena vacha manasendriyeva buddhyatmana va anusritta swabhavat karoti yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayetat. Rishi Kavi is responding to Raja Nimi about what Bhagavata Dharma is. He shares Kaya, Vacha, Mana, Indriya, Buddhi, and Swabhava. Whatever the ego and the equipments are and do. Karoti yat yat sakalam parasmai. All that they are, all that they do is for whom? Narayanayeti samarpayetat is done for Narayana, is offered to Narayana. So in a very translated sense, this is what Bhagavata Dharma is. All that you are, all that you do, all that you have is dedicated to Narayana. Elaborating. In an earlier verse, verse 34, what Rishi Kavi shares with Raja Nimi, he says, Avidusham Bhagavatan Proktan. It is Bhagwan who shared this Bhagavata Dharma for Avidusham, those who are not knowledgeable. For those who are ordinary, Bhagavata Prokta. So where is Bhagavata Dharma coming from? From Bhagwan himself. In the next verse, so I shared a reference from 34, now from 35, and this is really amazing. He shares, when one lives by Bhagavata Dharma, Dhavan Nimilya va netre. One can close their eyes and run. Na skalet na patet iha, and still one will not stumble and one will not fall. Now let's take this physically first. I'm not asking you to do this, but if you did do this, you went outside, closed your eyes, and started running, what will happen to you? You won't be in class next week. You will stumble and you will fall. But for one who's living Bhagavata Dharma, all that they are, that's Bhagwan. All that they do is for Bhagwan. Not just in this reference, but in this reference, how can they stumble? How can they fall? If they stumble, Bhagwan wanted them to stumble. If they fall, they will fall into Bhagwan. Remember security that I was talking about, independence. And here is where I've shared how important knowing about Bhagwan is. If you know about Bhagwan, then you will ever feel secure. Okay, let's continue. Lots to reflect on. I'm moving to verse 39. Okay, so all that you are, all that you do for Bhagwan. Zooming into this more in verse 39. Shrinvan subhadrani rathanga panehe janmani karmani chayani loke gitani namani tadartakani gayan vilajjo vichareta sangaha. How does one express this Bhagavata Dharma? Shrinvan subhadrani rathanga panehe. One should listen to the greatness of the one who's holding a wheel. That is Bhagwan Krishna. In the Mahabharata war, he is holding a wheel. Janmani karmani chayani loke. One should be listening to the birth and the purpose of Bhagwan. Gitani namani tadartakani. And one should be singing the name of the one who has meaning, the one who is great. And here's the critical part. Gayan vilajja vicharet asangaha. Freely one should move vilajja, which means without shame. Or changed differently, shamelessly. Shamelessly. In an earlier verse, Rishi Kavi tells Raja Nimi, all of the stress, anxiety, dejection that we have in our lives is because of our own minds. It is because of our own minds. So what should the mind be engaged in? Shrinvan, listen. Gayan, which means to speak. Active listening, active singing or active speaking. Asanga, not depending on articles, beings, circumstances. Vilajja, recklessly, as in with commitment. Nishchayena. That's what Bhagavata Dharma is. See, we chant Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva, but we do this with such reluctance. So the word vilajja is used. Pujya Swami Tejomayananda explained this in the most beautiful way. Okay. Whenever we engage in dharma, we tend to make this objective. As an example, if you're looking after your family, this is my dharma. When they wake up, I do this. When they go to school, I do this. When they go to sleep, I do this. So dharma is made objective, which really means it's conditional. This is my dharma, which really automatically means this is not my dharma. Everyone's with me? However, Bhagavata Dharma is not where anything is objective, all is subjective. So now it's not conditional, it is unconditional. All that you do becomes your sadhana, becomes your dharma. And Guruji completed this thought sharing. As long as dharma is not comprehensive, there will be conflict. This is my dharma, this is not my dharma. I like this dharma more, I don't like this dharma more. But if all, and please interpret this literally, all, you brushing your teeth, you listening to someone, you raking leaves, you being in class, if all is felt as this is Bhagwan's and anything that comes from this is Bhagwan too, this is comprehensive, you will not feel conflict. One of the original sources of conflict in our lives is between the mind and intellect, correct? Intellect decides, mind doubts, then there's further conflict. And I'm reminding all of you that the 10th skanda, the teaching was about surrender. See how that's connected to the 11th skanda too. I'm going to continue. In another verse, Rishi Kavi tells Raja Nimi, he says, Harehe Shariram. He shares that this world, this multiverse, is the Sharira, is the body. The body of whom? This body belongs to Hari. With such insights, when we personalize this, Bhagavata Dharma becomes quite natural. Okay, one more verse. This is the last teaching from Rishi Kavi. Then another yogi takes over afterwards. Verse 43. Ityachutangrim bhajato nuvritya bhaktir viraktir bhagavat prabodaha bhavanti ve bhagavatasya rajan tataf param shantim upaiti sakshat. Iti. What I've just taught. Achyuta angrim bhajato anuvritya. The one who is serving the feet of Achyuta. That is what Bhagavata Dharma is. The one who is ever serving the feet of Bhagwan. This is the karma. There has to be a phala. What is the phala? Bhaktihi, viraktihi, anubhutihi. One will develop bhakti or devotion. One will develop virakti, which means independence. And most importantly, one will develop anubhuti. They will experience Bhagwan. Bhavanti ve bhagavatasya rajan. He's speaking to Rajan Nimi. Bhagavatasya, the one who follows Bhagavata Dharma, bhavanti. They will develop this. Tataha param shantim upaiti sakshat. From such a vision and lifestyle, what will come to them? Sakshat, directly, param shantim. A peace that cannot be surpassed. I've shared a lot, and so I'm just going to share one more insight with all of you, and we'll review all of this. I have shared before that this is a very Vedantic skanda. So we have to be ready for the Vedanta. With Bhagavata Dharma, all that we want in our life, all that we need in our life will come to us. Bhakti, Virakti, Anubhuti, Shanti. Devotion, independence, experience of Bhagwan, and peace. Dharma is facilitated by my effort, as in the individual. Dharma entails the right actions with the right attitude. Fine. In Bhagavatam, we have also been taught about Sat Dharma or Sad Dharma. That's not based on my effort only. It is my effort and Bhagwan's effort. And that's why it evolves from right actions with the right attitude to, there is more now, smarana, which means remembrance, dana, generosity, pratignya, follow through, and raksha, protection. We flowed through this skanda quite a bit, but I know some of you are trying to write this, so I'm sharing it again. Your right actions with the right attitude has to be refined, intensified, and you cannot do this by yourself. It has to be your effort and his effort. Smarana, dana, pratignya, raksha. That's how one goes from dharma to sat dharma. And now, as Bhagavatam is being completed, remember the sixth question: where does Bhagwan live? That answer is coming to us. Bhagwan lives in Bhagavata Dharma. What is Bhagavata Dharma? It is more than dharma. It is more than sat dharma. It is surrender. It's no longer about my effort. It is all his effort. All that you are, all that you do, you've surrendered that. So whatever is happening is not you. Makes sense? Just smile. If it makes sense, it's his will. If it doesn't make sense, it is also his will. His will, his work, just smile. Shanti, shanti, shanti.